Hey my friends, I hope you're having an awesome week. Let's start with sight word review. Do you remember the sight word this week? It's a tricky one. It has 4 letters. It starts with a digraph, the TH digraph. Remember? TH, thumb, th. And that sight word is this. THIS, this. You want to practice that word so that you can memorize it. Something that might help is to pause this video right now, grab a piece of paper, and write the word 2 or 3 times. While you're writing it, say it out loud. This. 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 That'll really help you memorize it so that when you're reading it in a book, you immediately know which word it is. Great job. So, for our science video this week, and probably for the next 3 or 4 weeks, we are going to be learning more in depth about butterflies, a really amazing insect. And I found a couple of very cool books from our school library. They're a little more advanced than some of the other books we've been reading, but I'm going to pick just a few sections out of these books to sort of illustrate and highlight the different life cycle stages of a butterfly and get some really cool information about them. And the books are Where Did the Butterfly Get Its Name? And the other one is called Butterfly and Moth. And Butterfly and Moth is really incredible. It has just a ton of pictures and a ton of information all about butterflies and moths, but I'm going to be picking and choosing just a few sections out of these books to show you, share with you, and read and talk about what's going on with a butterfly, where do they live, what are the life cycles of a butterfly. And so we're going to start today with the first stage of a butterfly's life, and that's the egg. And we're also going to do a little introduction to butterflies. So let's check out these books and see what we can learn, okay? Let's take a look. So, introduction. Turtles lay eggs, and you get turtles. Alligators lay eggs, and you get alligators. But butterflies lay eggs, and what do you get? Caterpillars. The life cycle of a butterfly is truly amazing. A tiny egg hatches, and a caterpillar crawls out. The caterpillar eats and grows. Then it disappears into a case called a chrysalis. After a while, a stunning butterfly emerges, and away it flies. Where did the butterfly get its name? Most likely from some old ideas about butterflies. People used to believe that butterflies flew into kitchens, attracted by butter and milk. Some say that's why the German word for butterfly is Milchdieb, which means milk thief. Other people say the name comes from the Old English word butterfleoge, meaning butter and flying creature. This probably refers to the yellow color of many butterflies. And in this picture, friends, you can see on the bottom left-hand side the American painted lady butterfly, and in the top right, the robin moth. Very cool. Which is the biggest body part? It's the abdomen. It contains the organs for digesting food and getting rid of waste. Digestion takes place in a long tube that runs the length of the body. Here, the butterfly or moth absorbs the parts of the food it needs to live. The rest is waste, which passes out the body. How do butterflies and moths breathe? Through tiny valves on the side of their abdomen called spiracles. Air enters the spiracles and flows throughout the body, bringing oxygen to all the parts of the insect. Do butterflies and moths have bones? No, they don't. Like other insects, however, they do have stiff outside skeletons called exoskeletons. And in this picture you can see the common yellow swallowtail butterfly. Very beautiful. How many kinds of butterflies and moths are there? So far, scientists have counted about 20,000 different kinds of butterflies, but they have found an amazing 140,000 kinds of moths. Together, butterflies and moths make up a group of insects known as Lepidoptera. the Lepidoptera. The name comes from the Greek word for scale, since their wings are covered with thousands of tiny scales, kind of like on a fish, and for wing. Become an expert on butterflies and moths, and you'll be a lepidopterist. How many wings do Lepidoptera have? They have 4. There are a pair of front wings and a pair of back wings. The wings are thin, clear sheets of tissue. Inside are little dark, stiff rods called veins. The veins work like the wooden or plastic rods in kites. They stiffen the wings and keep them at the right angle for flying. The veins also help make designs on the wings. What are the scales for? To give the wings color. The scales are actually tiny. They are many different colors. Look closely through a magnifier. You'll see the scales overlapping like tiles on a roof. Even the brightest butterflies and moths have some dark or black scales on their wings. These scales soak up sunlight and help keep the insects warm. What is the powder on your fingers after you touch a butterfly or moth? So, lots of tiny wing scales. The scales scatter like dust when you touch them. That's why it's best to leave butterflies and moths alone. Touching a butterfly or moth wing means the insect may never fly again, and it may die. In this picture, we see a small tortoiseshell butterfly, and there's a very up-close view of the scales. You can see how they're layered in all different colors, but they still make a pattern. Do any butterflies and moths have few scales? Yes. Those with see-through wings. These butterflies and moths are nearly invisible. The glasswing butterfly is a good example. It lives deep in the Amazonian jungle, where it flies close to the ground and is very hard to see. The unusual bee moth from Sri Lanka also has see-through wings. It looks just like a bee and even flies like a bee, but it is not a bee. It is a moth. Are all Lepidoptera wings the same shape? No. Wings can be nearly round, triangular, square, or have tails sticking out in the back. The insect's flying pattern depends on its wing shape. Generally, butterflies and moths with large, wide wings flutter around in circles. You may have seen viceroys flitting about in a field or garden. Those with long, thin wings usually fly fast and straight. The death's head hawk moth is one of the fastest flying moths. Its backward-pointing wings looked like those of a fighter jet. Which butterfly has the biggest wings? The Queen Alexandria birdwing from New Guinea, which we can see in this picture at the top. The wings of this giant butterfly can be 11 inches, so almost a foot wide. That's about as big as a dinner plate. The smallest butterfly is the pygmy blue. This pretty little insect is as small as 3/8 of an inch across. Which moth has the biggest wings? The giant Hercules moth, which is in the bottom of this picture, of Australia. This moth is even bigger than the Queen Alexandria birdwing butterfly. When open, the wings of the Hercules moth are as long as a ruler, 1 foot, from tip to tip. The leaf miner moth takes the prize as the smallest moth. Its outstretched wings measure only 1/8 of an inch wide. All right, so that was a good introduction to butterflies. Now let's talk about their first stage of life, which is the egg stage. All right, let's take a look. From egg to adult. Do newborn butterflies and moths look like their parents? No. During their lifetimes, all butterflies and moths pass through 4 stages: egg, caterpillar, pupa, and adult. Each stage looks very different. This process is called metamorphosis, a Greek word meaning change in form. A female butterfly or moth lays a number of tiny eggs. Each egg hatches, and a caterpillar, or larva, crawls out. The caterpillar eats and eats. Eventually, most butterfly caterpillars form a chrysalis. Most moth caterpillars spin a cocoon. Inside, the caterpillar changes into a butterfly or into a moth. This is the pupa stage. Finally, the chrysalis or cocoon opens and a butterfly or moth comes out and flies away. The adults mate and the life cycle starts again. Where do butterflies and moths lay their eggs? Mostly on the undersides of plant leaves or on stems. The female flits around, tasting many plants. Finally, she finds one that will be food for the caterpillars when the eggs hatch. She lays the eggs and flies away. How many eggs do butterflies and moths lay? A few to several hundred, but not many eggs actually hatch. Too many animals, including birds and bats, find them a tasty treat. What do the eggs look like? They are very tiny. Most eggs are about the size of the head of a pin. The largest butterfly egg is no more than about 1/8 of an inch across. The eggs are usually yellowish white or light green, but over time the colors may change to bright red or orange. Some eggs are flat ovals. Others are round with lines of darker colors around the sides. As it grows, the caterpillar eats most of the inner part of the egg. This makes the eggshell so thin that you can see the inside. After a while, you can even make out the caterpillar's dark head within the shell. In this picture, you can see the Chalcedon checker spot butterfly laying its eggs on the underside of a leaf. Now, friends, for some sections of the Butterfly and Moth book. In this picture, you see the eggs of the owl butterfly. They have delicate ribs that meet at the top. The ribbing and the structure of the shell, a tough coating like an insect's body, not a brittle one like a hen's egg, are designed to protect the egg from the water loss while allowing it to breathe. So these eggs are much tougher than a chicken's eggs. They don't crack as easily. They are still delicate, but they're a little bit tougher than a regular egg. Egg laying. After selecting the correct plant for the caterpillars, the female walks over a leaf, testing it carefully, presumably to make sure it belongs to the right plant species. We know that many species can detect chemicals from different plants. In this picture, friends, you can see the period butterfly from Central America is laying its eggs on the upper surface of the leaf. She is very vulnerable to disturbance here, and a heavy rainstorm will interrupt egg laying. It's a very delicate process, and you can see those tiny, tiny eggs there. Sites for egg laying. Some species of Helioconius butterflies lay their eggs on tendrils of the passion flower above. See it at the very tip of that plant. The lackey moth lays its eggs in a ring around a twig so that they look like it's part of the plant. And in this picture you can see the twig, and there's like clumps of eggs in these bundles around the twig, and it kind of looks like part of the plant, probably to protect it from other animals that might want to eat the eggs. The eggs in position. The owl butterfly lays its eggs in groups. The color of the individual eggs can vary in this species. They turn darker as the time of hatching gets near. And you can see these small eggs there. The darker ones are getting close to hatch. Very cool. And then in this last picture, friends, we see the caterpillar almost coming out. It says, cutting a circle. In order to hatch, the caterpillar must bite its way through the shell of the egg. This is not a hard, brittle shell like that of a hen's egg, but it still poses a tough task for the minute caterpillar, very small caterpillar. Its jaws have to cut a circle big enough for the head to come out. And in this picture, you can see the head of the caterpillar starting to appear, and the opening where the caterpillar's jaws have cut through the eggshell. So fascinating. All right, friends, I hope you learned a lot about the first stage of life of a butterfly, the egg. And I can't wait to talk about the second stage, the caterpillar. So I hope you have a great spring break, friends. Do lots of reading, practice writing your sight words, and I'll see you real soon, okay? Bye-bye.